My name is Anna, and I am 28 years old, living in a small town where everyone knows each other. 5 years ago, I met someone who would change my life completely, my best friend, Claire. We met at a local coffee shop on a rainy afternoon, both waiting for our drinks. She smiled warmly and said she liked my scarf, and that small moment started our first conversation. We discovered we had many things in common, like a love for books, movies, and traveling. From that day, we met often, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for long walks in the park. Claire had a bright laugh and a caring heart, and I felt safe telling her my secrets. She listened carefully when I spoke, and I always felt like she truly understood my feelings. Soon, she became like a sister to me, someone I could trust with everything in my life. We celebrated birthdays together, exchanged small gifts, and even planned weekend trips to nearby cities. I remember our trip to the beach, where we stayed up all night talking under the stars. We shared dreams about the future, promising we would always be there for each other. She encouraged me when I felt low, and reminded me that I was stronger than I thought. Whenever I needed help, she was the first to arrive, no matter the time or day. I trusted her with my deepest fears, my biggest hopes, and even the stories I never told anyone. We laughed over silly jokes that no one else would understand, making us feel like our own little world. We took hundreds of photos together, from messy hair mornings to beautiful sunsets on our trips. Claire often cooked dinner for me when I was too tired, saying she loved taking care of friends. She told me secrets from her childhood, moments she never shared with other people in her life. I felt honored to be trusted by her, and I wanted to be the same for her. One winter, when my car broke down in the snow, Claire came without hesitation to help me. She stood in the freezing cold with me until a mechanic arrived, just to make sure I was okay. That night, I thought to myself how lucky I was to have her as my best friend. Our families even started to know each other, and my mother always welcomed her like a second daughter. We talked every single day, whether in person or through long text messages late into the night. I never imagined that someone I trusted so much could one day be the person who would hurt me most. It began slowly, in ways I almost didn't notice, small changes in Claire's behavior that felt unusual. She stopped replying to my messages quickly, something she used to do without even thinking before. When we met, she sometimes seemed distracted, her eyes flicking to her phone again and again. I asked if something was wrong, but she just smiled and said she was busy with work. We used to share every little detail of our lives, but she started keeping things to herself. Sometimes she would mention going out but never say where or with whom, which felt strange to me. One afternoon, I saw her at the market, laughing with someone she never told me about. When she noticed me, her smile faded quickly, and she said she had to leave in a hurry. I told myself it was nothing, maybe just a new friend, but something in my heart felt heavy. Soon, our weekend plans began to get canceled, always with last-minute excuses I couldn't fully believe. She stopped inviting me to certain gatherings, even though before we attended everything together like sisters. I found out from social media that she had been to a party I didn't know about. In the photos, she stood beside people I barely recognized, smiling in ways I hadn't seen lately. It hurt to realize she was creating moments and memories without me, after everything we had shared. I tried to talk to her, but she avoided my questions, changing the topic to something else quickly. There were times she would receive a call and step outside, to speak in a low voice. When she came back, she would act as if nothing had happened, smiling like she had no worries at all. My heart was starting to feel confused. Should I trust her like before, or start keeping my distance? I didn't want to lose her, but I couldn't ignore the uneasy feeling that kept growing inside me. One evening, we were at a cafe when a man walked in and glanced toward our table. Claire quickly looked away and pretended she didn't see him, but I could tell she recognized his face. She excused herself to go to the bathroom, but instead, I saw her talking to him outside. When she came back, she acted like nothing happened, but I noticed her hands shaking slightly. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the image of her whispering to that stranger. I began remembering all the little moments that felt strange lately, each one now forming part of a bigger puzzle. My chest felt heavy. I didn't want to believe my best friend was hiding something serious from me. I told myself maybe I was overthinking, but deep down, I knew something between us had already changed. And with every unanswered question, my trust in her began to crack, piece by piece, without repair. It was a rainy Thursday when I finally learned the truth about Claire, and it broke my heart. I was walking home when I saw her sitting at a cafe, with someone I knew very well. It wasn't just anyone, it was Daniel, the man I had been secretly in love with for months. I froze outside the window, watching them laugh together, as if they had known each other forever. Daniel leaned closer, and Claire touched his hand, in a way that made my stomach twist painfully. I stepped inside, my heart pounding so loudly I thought everyone in the cafe could hear it. They both looked shocked when they saw me, as if caught in a moment they couldn't explain away. "Claire," I said quietly. "What's going on here?" My voice was shaking, but I stood tall. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Daniel shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. Finally, Claire whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. This was my best friend, the one I trusted most. "You knew how I felt about him," I said, my voice breaking. "And you still did this." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. Daniel tried to speak, but I didn't want to hear his excuses. My pain was too deep. I walked out into the rain, each step heavier than the last, tears mixing with the cold drops. For days, I couldn't eat or sleep. The betrayal replayed in my mind like a never-ending nightmare. I kept asking myself how someone I loved and trusted could hurt me in such a personal way. Friends told me to forget about her, but my heart still ached for the friendship we once had. Eventually, I decided I needed closure. I met Claire at the park to talk one last time. "I forgive you," I told her. "But I can't be your friend anymore. The trust is gone." She nodded silently, tears in her eyes, knowing our chapter together had come to an end. It wasn't easy, but I started focusing on myself, reading more, meeting new people, and finding new hobbies. The pain didn't vanish overnight, but with time, I realized that losing her was actually finding myself. Now I know that real friends protect your heart, and anyone who doesn't is never worth keeping. Thanks for watching. Did you like my decision? Let me know in the comments.